Welcome. We're here to talk about systemic change in business and education. But before we get started, I'd like to ask a few questions. Do you think we've seen enough corporate greed? Do you think our education system is working? What if business was focused on a more than profit model? And by that I mean putting education, the planet, and the quality of human life at least alongside a profit. My name is Doug Mondo and I'm a social entrepreneur, and today I want to share with you the powerful new sustainable business and education model. One whose pilot project began over 8 years ago here in Paso Robles, California. I would like to share with you how this new model integrates business and education. A hands-on model that is self-sustaining, one that esteems all students' innate learning capacities, a model that engages business in the education process, and one that delivers to our young people much needed employable skills. A true more than profit model. Our model outlines how a handful of dedicated social entrepreneurs, legacy-minded social investors, and visionary educators can use a framework within their communities to make a positive, sustainable, and systemic change in both business and education. But before we get too deep, let's introduce you all to our personality temperament model. We will use personality temperament type as a method to frame our conversation on change. The history of personality temperament dates back to 400 BC when Hippocrates uncovered that people generally fit into one of 4 personality types. This concept was refined by Carl Jung in the 1920s and greatly expanded by Myers-Briggs in the 1950s, and was continued by David Keirsey in the 60s in a book entitled Please Understand Me. Our model uses a kite kit as a fun and non-threatening way to determine type. Personality type is a top-level filter. It is the lens through which we perceive our reality. Once people understand that we don't all value the same set of principles, we begin to appreciate and respect diversity. Tolerance is a natural byproduct of this process. Each personality type has a distinct attribute that people can identify with and relate to. We are all a blend with a brightest color to a palest color. Red are the body, physical, spontaneous, let's do it now type. Green are the soul, conceptual, let me think about it type. Gold are the mind, prepared, let's plan ahead type. And blue are the heart, compassionate, and let's just all get along type. Then we map the multiple intelligences to the temperament model. Think of temperament as what you value and the intelligences as how you're smart. Creating your personality temperament profile is easy. First, look at the pictures and the words on the front of each color wheel. Then, check the words that firmly describe you. Then, graph your color wheel by counting each check mark and plotting them on the chart. Finally, connect your colors to create your kite shape. Adding your fingerprint shows just how unique you are. Using the temperament model to look at our education system, we find that the entire education system standards are based on only one of the 4 temperaments and only 2 of the 8 multiple intelligences. Basically, our entire education system is gold. Many corporations train employees in personality temperament because they know they need a balance of all 4 personality types to effectively compete in the business world. A corporation run like our school system's gold-only model would fail immediately. And this highlights why our school systems simply don't work for 3/4 of the population. Students who are gold do great. The system was built for them. Students who are red learn visually and are bodily kinesthetic. So they have the most difficulty in the gold-only model because they are effectively the polar opposite of the gold. The system continually tells red students that they don't get it or that they need to be medicated. If the system tells a kid they're a loser long enough, they might start to believe them. It's no wonder our prisons are ballooning. The system's gold-only model also adversely affects the medical system, general workforce, and at the highest levels of our space and defense programs. Let's talk about our program solutions. Starting in 2005 with just one visionary educator and two social entrepreneurs, we began our mission of systemic change in business and education. Our goals are to create positive change in the attitude and perception about learning, provide tools to draw out the strengths of the individual, help students transition into productive citizens, facilitate a permanent connection between business and education, and to deliver real employable skills. We created personality kite kits for kids, teens, and adults that provide tools and techniques to highlight and draw out the strengths and struggles of each individual learner. From 2005 to 2007, we donated $35,000 in training materials and professionally trained Paso Robles School District teachers and administrators in our personality temperament model free of charge. A colorized philosophical framework was implemented to help each educator and learner better understand how each personality temperament type deals with the perception of learning, the acquisition and integration of knowledge, extending and refining reasoning, and ultimately using knowledge meaningfully. A unit of study model was introduced, aimed at esteeming all temperament types and integrating the traditional subjects into hands-on learning experiences. By colorizing standard teaching methods and interspersing field trips, the students benefited tremendously. Capitalizing on brain research, which shows when there's a real-world application related to the learning, the retention and integration of knowledge is greatly enhanced. Our model calls this purpose-driven learning. These unit of study programs also bring in community, government, and corporate support to help make the learning relevant to real-world use and application. In the Soils and Native Landscape unit of study, run at our first property center, the U.S. Department of Agriculture experts collaborated with private soils engineers and educators to create a powerful curriculum around the need and purpose of commercial soils reports. We set up the Getting About Town program with the local Chamber of Commerce to get high school kids introduced to businesses. The program was very successful, but highlighted education's need for ongoing access to businesses and entrepreneurs for tours and training. Our team developed a plan to create and integrate 4 educational pathways: Waterworks, Ranchworks, Greenworks, and EnergyWorks. These pathways are integrated into the Paso Robles Permaculture, a themed sustainable agriculture site. Each pathway provides needed infrastructure the for-profit company is willing to lease, and are uniquely designed to provide ongoing education. The Waterworks pathway, for example, will create many important units of study such as hydrology, water resources, aquaculture, freshwater biology and ecosystems, and many, many more. Visionary educators create the curriculum around the property center's actual improvements and run the 6-week unit of study at the respective schools. And students take a couple of short field trips per unit of study out to the business site to tie in the real-world application of the knowledge. Thus, a one-time capital improvement expense permanently integrates real business practices with the education process. One of the most important aspects of our model is employable skills. By working directly with private industry consortiums in energy, agriculture, ranching, water resources sectors, to help design our pathway assets, create actual industry-desired curriculum, and help write certification programs, students become highly desired by the industry consortium members. This ensures employable skills are built into the unit of study program. We have designed and are currently in works with 3 center properties: the Paso Robles Permaculture, Mondo Cellars and Inn, and the K through 6th grade edutainment destinations. Ultimately, the plan calls for the acquisition of surrounding properties and the development of 3 additional diverse new property center assets, all sharing the same concept of systemic change in business and education. Let me share with you the mechanics of our sustainable business and education model. Creative and dedicated social entrepreneurs and visionary educators team up with legacy-minded social investors to benefit students in particular and society in general. Here's how it works. The social investors invest money directly into a for-profit property center that they are passionate about supporting. The money is used to improve the property as outlined in each center's property development plan. The improvements are leased to a for-profit company run by social entrepreneurs ready to assist in the education model. The social investor gets a cash dividend on the investment paid from lease rents. The dividend is donated by the social investor to the nonprofit. The nonprofit acts as a conduit to connect schools with actual companies operating within the center properties, allowing students to study their operation. The nonprofit uses the donations to pay schools to write curriculum called units of study, which are specifically oriented around the assets of the center properties. Completed units of study are databased at the nonprofit and made available to educators around the globe free of charge. The nonprofit also pays for students to be transported to and from the school and the center properties. The nonprofit also coordinates with the community to locate assets, both physical and human, available to participate in the model. The nonprofit connects with government entities to provide speakers, knowledge, and expertise to complete the robust real-world nature of each unit of study. And the nonprofit locates and interfaces with corporate partners to support the programs and corporate consortiums to help design and write certification programs. A handful of dedicated social entrepreneurs, social investors, and visionary educators in any given community can change the world. I submit to you the world is changing. New models are emerging where education is based in creativity and business is based in cooperation. And powerful programs that integrate the two are becoming visible. We are seeing more and more social entrepreneurs, visionary educators, and social investors coming together, confidently focused on benefiting society.